Thank you, David. They are the talk of the young CFL season, the 2-0 Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and their top-rated defense colliding with the 1-1 Calgary Stampeders, last year's most explosive offense. Another great crowd at Canada Stadium and a good night for football. Comfortable evening. The wind out of the south from 20 to 30 clicks could be a bit of a factor.
Buck Pierce has not thrown for 200 yards in the first of his 2 games this season and just 1 touchdown, but for the first time all year gets his starting receiving corps back for back-to-back weeks. We'll see if he can catch that offense up to what has been a great defense in Winnipeg, and a pumped-up Henry Burrs here at Canada Stadium as he gets ready to continue on with the momentum he gained from the BC game a week ago, where he threw for just shy of 300 yards, but wants to clean up his turnovers.
Yeah, John Hufnagel's team hasn't been hitting on all the cylinders yet, but he liked what he saw in the second half against BC and hopes that momentum carries over against the hot Blue Bomber team. Paul Lapalisis orchestrated the first 2-0 start since 2003 here, but keeps reminding the Bombers to stay even-keeled. Big test tonight for Winnipeg. Justin Pillardi will kick it off as Calgary has won the toss, and they'll get the ball first. And there's Larry Taylor, big week in Vancouver. He's back along with Johnny Forzani, and it will be Forzani on the return, and Alex Suber meets him head-on at the 35-yard line. It's been a slow starting Calgary offense in their first 2 games.
It really has. They got going a little bit last week against the BC Lions in that second half. You see in the backfield, they will have Joffrey Reynolds. Has 98 yards rushing on 20 carries after 2 weeks. There's a receiving corps. They get Kenyon Rambo back in the starting lineup in the receiving corps. Henry Burr is happy about that. And speaking of being happy, he gets his #1 bodyguard back in Dimitris Sumpas at right guard.
And our starting lineups are brought to you by Rona, proud partner of the CFL and its 8 teams.
Alex Suber was hurt on that opening kickoff. He made the tackle on Johnny Forzani. Went down immediately. Winnipeg Blue Bombers were just getting their starting defense back into place with Clint Kent moving up. And you can see how Suber looked like they're looking at his neck and head as he gets twisted around in the bottom of that pile.
He was to his feet momentarily, but clearly not comfortable. Takes a knee again as it looked like he jammed his neck on that tackle. And when he got to his feet, he was unable to really stand straight up. Suber, the defensive player of week 1. That 66-yard interception return for a touchdown, clinching points in the first win against the Tiger Cats.
His very first interception for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. His first pro interception. He took it back to the house. Did not have a pick last year. And he was in that halfback spot, and they moved Jonathan Hefney back to halfback from the linebacker spot where he played the first 2 weeks because they got Clint Kent back, and now they'll have to do some juggling again.
Well, they have had Javon Johnson inside for tonight's game. He was to start on the corner. Dion Beasley is on the field in the defensive huddle, so he is likely to move back to the corner, and Javon Johnson, you'd expect, he was ticketed to start at corner, will likely move into Suber's spot.
It looks like that's where they're going to play him, and Javon Johnson's such a great all-around athlete. He could be a kicker, and he'd probably do well at that too.
Well, he's older, so
he's older now, yes.
So now we're ready to go, and it is Beasley on the corner. Javon Johnson to Suber's spot, and the fans are red. Play action fake, and the first pass skips short of the intended target, the former Blue Bomber, R.J. Franklin.
This Bomber defense has made a statement in the first 2 weeks, led by Doug Brown, the veteran of 11 years, who has said at the beginning of the season that this is his final year in Canadian football.
I'm sure that if Doug Brown keeps playing the way he has the first 2 weeks, Winnipeg management may ask him to reconsider consider that.
And I'm going to.
2nd and 10. Here comes the heat, and the ball is knocked away. Intended for Nick Lewis, and the safety Ian Logan, one of many Bombers, red hot to start the season with the breakup.
Let's take a look at Doug Brown right out of the gate. He's hidden in behind Joe Lobendon in that three-point stance. He's going to draw a double team most of the night. Should get matched up with Dimitris Sumpas, but Tim O'Neill will help out no matter which guard he lines up on. Steve Middleton or Sumpas on the other side.
2 and out to start, and Javon Johnson is back as Bert Gales with the wind at his back. High kick, Johnson, 25-yard line. Picked his way to the 31 before taken down. Randy Chevrier, the tackle of Buck Pierce and Paul Lapalisse. We have one more last-second meeting before he takes to the huddle.
See Fred Reed in the backfield, 150 yards is just a 4.3-yard average. This offense has got to get rolling. They're hoping, for Winnipeg fans' sake, it'll happen tonight. There's his receiving core. Gets the first receiving core back.
262 net yards last week. And Reed ducked under first contact and just gets back to the line of scrimmage. Tackle on the play from Charleston Hughes.
There's Fred Reed, and the receiving core, as I mentioned, is back-to-back weeks the same group. You see Clarence Denmark in there for Greg Carr, who's still out with a quad injury, but he did play last week, so it should be some more continuity. And there's the offensive line. Steve Morley at right guard and Brendan Labatt at left.
2nd and 9. And Pierce underneath. Aaron Hargraves the catch. Up the sidelines and bumped out at both the first down stick. Hargraves in with the injury to Kito Pobla in week 1.
Just a couple of catches for him so far, but this is a big one to get some momentum early in this game for the Bomber offense that's been struggling a little bit over 2 weeks. And sometimes you can step out and avoid a hit like this, but Hargraves had to take it to get that extra half a yard and the first down.
So he's got a starting job back, 12 pounds lighter this year. Hargraves hoping to finally make a big impact in this Winnipeg offense. Take to Reed, and a sideline throw underneath. Corey Watson the catch at the 50-yard line. A little submarine from Buck Pierce.
Take a look at this Calgary defense. Ranks 2nd in the league after 2 weeks against the pass. Up front, Corey Mace out on the 9 game. Adrian Davis will play for him, the interior of that defensive line. Malik Jackson, who had concussion symptoms last week, did not play, is back in the linebacking core. And everyone looking forward to watching Dimitris Morley play at free safety. He had 2 picks in the preseason in 1 game.
Against the BC Lions, he caught everybody's eye and then had a knee injury in practice. Second short for Reed into the secondary and taken down at the Calgary 49-yard line. Jeff Tisdale brings down the leading rusher in the Canadian Football League.
Much different start for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers offensively. They're mixing things up nicely. Couple throws. They go back to Fred Reed on the running game. This is an offense that last week versus Toronto in their first 5 series had 2 missed field goals, an interception, and 2 punts. So a good start here tonight for Winnipeg's offense.
11 for Reed and a first down. But Pierce on a roll, in some trouble with Charleston Hughes as his first sack of the season.
I think Buck Pierce thought he could outrun Charleston Hughes to the corner, and that's his first. Just had a couple of tackles coming into this game for Calgary. He's standing up in the 2-point stance right here, and good speed and quickness to the outside. I think Buck Pierce didn't throw this away because he thought he could outrun him to the corner. Charleston Hughes says not today.
Hughes had 7 sacks last year, 6 after Labor Day. A quiet start to this season, but makes some early noise. And it's a loss of 6, 2nd and 16. 3-man rush underneath. Watson the catch, but Malik Jackson, a sure tackle just beyond the original line of scrimmage. And it will be 3rd down.
Interesting, right in that sort of bubble area as far as a field goal attempt. It would be a long one. I think the Bombers so far into a bit of a breeze. Paul LaPolice will elect to punt this to the corner and play the field position game early.
Yeah, it would be a 53-yarder into the wind. So instead, Mike Renaud, ranked second in net punting, will try and pin Calgary. High kick into the breeze, and Larry Taylor wants it to bounce into the end zone and gets that hop. Mike Renaud with the single point, and the Bombers score first. Del Willis and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have a 1-point lead. Calgary goes to work.
Who said as he came out of the gate tonight, he's the CEO of Swaggerville.
He made some comments earlier that got everybody's attention. He thought they'd have an easier time stopping Joffrey Reynolds tonight. Haven't had a chance to find out yet. Here is Burris, and he overthrows Johnny Forzani. Another slow Calgary start.
It's been a fast start for this Winnipeg defense. They rank first in sacks with 9, 5 interceptions. There's the front four. We talked about Doug Brown and the CEO. On the end, Odell Willis. Joe Lobendon has already been a defensive player of the week. 11 tackles, couple sacks, 3 fumble recoveries to start the season after 2 weeks. Jonathan Hefney, as we mentioned, will move back to the halfback. Now Javon Johnson's got to play at halfback until they find out about Alex Suber.
2nd and 10. Burris over the middle. What a pin on Rambo, and that's broken up. Jonathan Hefney with the knockdown.
Boy, there has not been very much room in that secondary for these Calgary receivers, and whether or not Burris is getting pressure or not, he is just not finding open targets. Look at the tremendous coverage by Jonathan Hefney, who's back at his natural halfback position. Talked to LaPolice yesterday about Hefney playing linebacker. He said he played great up there. We can move him around, and he has that versatility.
So the 13th and 14th 2-and-outs for Calgary in the early season, and Javon Johnson awaits. Burke Dales with the boot. Johnson from his 24. Randy Chevrier couldn't make the tackle. There is a flag as Johnson inside the 45. It's still going. Is it going to stand? Javon Johnson, touchdown.
Whether it stands or not, is Javon Johnson the most underrated player in the CFL?
He might be.
You talk about the top returners, his name is not brought up. You talk about the top cover men in the secondary in the league, his name does not come up, and it should in both categories. And I think this may come back for an illegal block.
The Bomber offense knew they were all walking onto the field around where the flag was, and instead of a 87-yard punt return touchdown, it's a long field for Buck Pierce on the Bomber offense.
On the return, holding Winnipeg, number 54. The penalties decline. Illegal block, Winnipeg, 23. 10-yard penalty, first down.
So Jonathan Hefney tagged with the penalty. We'll be right back.
Back of the Calgary Stampeder coverman, and then at the end of it, Javon Johnson gets the sideline. There's the next penalty right here, and again, I would classify that as marginal at best.
Wow. That's going to hurt to look at in the film room for the Bombers. Instead, they start deep, but Fred Reed's got the ball out across the 20 to the 22-yard line. 7-yard run for Reed.
Buck Pierce hasn't put up big numbers yet this season. He's been working with different receiving corps until this game in back-to-back weeks, but the one constant is Fred Reed and his production on first down, and they want to keep that balance in the offense.
So 2nd and 3. They fake to Reed, and underneath the ball in and out of the hands of Watson.
I think it was stripped out, and I didn't get the number. It looked like Watson had come down inside. He ends up right in the inside curl there for Buck Pierce. Tries to throw him open to the inside.
And that's Jeff Tisdale, the corner.
On Tisdale tracked him all the way down because he normally lines up as a wide receiver, so they're matching up man-to-man. Tisdale on Corey Watson, and he made the play there.
So Renault to kick it away. And electric Larry Taylor awaits at about the Calgary 45 and off the side of the foot of Renault. It's a Bomber bounce. And Taylor crosses midfield and steps out at the Bomber bench. Turns out to be a 37-yarder for Renault.
And that one must have popped off and got lodged in his throat.
Short field for Calgary at the 52 with the pass is swung out to Nick Lewis. And he takes a hit from Hefney at the 45-yard line. Lewis now with a catch in 125 consecutive games, and he just tied Tom Forzani on the all-time list for Calgary Stampeders. That's catch number 553.
And that catch was the same play that he took 61 yards against the BC Lions for a touchdown a week ago.
That's Tom Forzani just lined up in the huddle with Tom's nephew, Johnny. Number 2 in all-time Calgary receptions. And now Kenyon Rambo on second down. And Rambo is going to be stopped short of the first down as he's taken down by Clint Kent, who returns to the lineup. Missed the first 2 weeks with an ankle problem.
Well, we talked about the first couple of series for Calgary, how they weren't getting their receivers open downfield. So their answer to that is to throw the ball to them behind the line of scrimmage. And you can see Rambo with the ball between good blocking up front. And Jonathan Hefney just continues to slow play it till he gets help from the inside and Clint Kent.
Sticks come out there under a yard away from a first down. But remember last week against Toronto, that Winnipeg front created 2 turnovers on downs as the Argos failed in short yardage twice. Not to mention late in the game a fumble on a shotgun to give away another one under the intense front 4 pressure. Michael Bishop, the former Winnipeg Blue Bomber, into the game in short yardage. Plunging ahead. And should have it, but not with a lot to spare.
Went right behind Tim O'Neill, and you take a look at that Bomber defense, and it's an adventure on short yardage against 2 teams in that they played in the first 2 weeks because of their statistics. You look at points allowed, maybe the most important. 16 ranks first. Total yards allowed under 300. That's net yards, passing and rushing. And then there's their big plays and quarterback sacks, interceptions. And Tim Burke has got this defense believing in the system that he made work in Montreal and took them to championships.
3 years in Montreal, also an assistant in Calgary. The initial first down of the game, and now Larry Taylor. And he slices through off the right side with a good run down inside the 35-yard line. That's 8 for Larry Taylor, being used in different capacities for the Stampeders, a running back, receiver, and of course ace return man.
The Bombers, because of the injury to Jason Vega at left end, are going to rotate Kenny Maynor and Ferdinand Kashama at the left tackle. That time Maynor got inside a little bit, and that gave Taylor the corner.
Ian Logan the tackle at 2nd and 2. And John Cornish, the ball carrier, and Odell Willis takes him down. But it will be a Calgary first down. Cornish looking for the helmet after he was cut down by Odell Willis.
Take a look at how John Cornish, it looked like he was a little bit careless with that football. He didn't get stripped, but when he took it, he's got it correctly there. And as he cuts to the outside, it looked like the tips of that football weren't covered up. His helmet flew off, but he hung on to the football as he hit the ground.
So back-to-back first downs for Calgary. Double tight end formation. 1st and 10. And a pump. Pressure. Ball knocked out of his hand. Is on line. Bombers trying to get it. And they do.
Odell Willis came off the edge.
And Dorian Smith ate up the football. Now the Bomber defense does it again. Well, Well, wondering if Calgary will challenge this, and just now the flag comes out.
Odell Willis around the corner. Now, was his arm going forward when he loses the football? I don't think it was. It looked like Odell Willis made contact with the arm on the way back, which would be ruled, if the officials see it that way,
is challenging the ruling on the field of a fumble.
If they feel like his arm was on his way back when contact with the arm was made, it'll be ruled a fumble. If the arm was on its way forward when contact was made, it's ruled incomplete.
Willis around Gerald Cadigan, the left tackle. Already 3 sacks on the year, a pair last week against the Argos. And again, was that arm moving forward before Willis gets to the ball?
See, it looked like Willis, I don't think Willis ever contacted the ball. It looked like he hit his arm on the way back. The ball popped out, and then the forward progress of the arm followed through after that.
Took a long time for John Hufnagel to throw the flag, and it won't take as long for Kim Murphy to get word from the command center. I think the Calgary coach felt he had to challenge, and
After review, the ruling on the field stands. It was a fumble, first down.
and I don't think he's surprised, but he was going to test it anyway.
Yeah, I think he wanted to take a look at, but you could tell by his reaction before the ruling was made, he was shaking his head. I think he saw a replay and realized that the call was the correct call, and he probably shouldn't have challenged. But bottom line is, when it's that close on a play like that and a turnover, it's almost worth it just to take another look at it.
Make that a league-leading 11th takeaway for the Bombers here early in week 3. Pressure over the middle, Terrence Jeffers-Harris, and he's tossed down, and so is a flag, and Buck Pierce is slow to get up.
Demetrius Morley comes on the safety blitz. He gets in
Major
clean,
foul,
but way
roughing
after the ball's
passer.
gone.
Calgary, number 31, 15 yards from the end of the play, automatic first down.
Well, Morley may be unaware of Buck Pierce's history, but
Usually blitz from the safety comes outside. He goes in the B gap between guard and tackle, but watch how late Demetrius Morley is. Ball's gone there. 1, 2, 3 steps and under the shoulder, and the fans here don't like that at all, and neither will the O-line for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
best news for the Bombers is we've had a couple of good pieces of evidence that Buck Pierce could take a hit this season. Another good run for Fred Reed, as the Bombers have established a run game here in this first quarter.
You know, that's a big step for Buck Pierce. Remember a week when he was playing the Hamilton Tiger Cats and that big hit off the edge by Johnson? When you come back from injury, especially Buck Pierce, you have to hit those milestones where you know you can bounce back from hits like that. He's taken some big ones early in this season and got up every time. That's a real positive indication of his comeback.
And the one from Jamal Johnson, a clean shot. Fred Reed second and short. And just tripped up by Jawan Simpson, or else he'd still be running. But another first down for Winnipeg.
Little delay on the Fred Reed running play out of shotgun here, and he just stumbles up a little bit, or he is in a foot race to the end zone. You're right, shoestring tackle by Jawan Simpson.
Fred with 34 yards has passed Dave Ramey on the all-time rushing list, now number 6 in Bomber history. And this time not going anywhere, dumped by Justin Phillips. Just a quick thought for the old-timers, Glenn.
Yep.
Guys older than you, guys like old as me, Dave Ramey could play.
Yeah. I remember the name.
In fact, he was a two-way guy, ended up being a terrific defensive back in Toronto as well. But Fred Reed has passed him on the all-time list and is closing in on 4,000 yards early in his 5th season with the Bombers. 2nd and 15, Pierce. He's going to option this, gets a block, gets outside, and he'll be drilled out by Justin Phillips. And again, a flag down in the Bomber backfield.
I think this one goes against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. To play in the passing game extends like this, oftentimes it's a holding up front. Buck Pierce was well short of first down territory on the run. Paul LaPolice talked about settling for threes too much. And he wanted to start capitalizing on some of the field position that he's experienced, positive field position in the first couple of weeks and into this game.
Stamps might have a choice here. Usually you decline, but they're in field goal range. The field goal might move them out of field goal range, but give Winnipeg another play. So it is a decision.
Winnipeg number 60. 10-yard penalty remains, second down.
Abi Khan called for holding, and they are going to push him back, and that means it would be a 52-yard field goal, but it also gives Winnipeg a chance to extend the drive.
8-year veteran Abi Khan in the middle is playing against Adrian Davis on this play, and he's fine for what should be the regular duration of a passing play, but as it extends, he grabs the jersey, and Adrian Davis can't get loose, and that's a holding call, and they out pushing him back.
Adrian Davis, the only down lineman for Calgary, second in the bunch. Underneath it goes crosser, Corey Watson. Takes a heavy hit from Johnny Dixon, but gets it back into field goal range at the Calgary 31. Dixon in on the corner for Greg Fawcett this week for Calgary.
A big hit at the end of it, and a play where the Calgary Stampeders secondary took away the deep threats. They weren't going to give up second and that many to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, so the Bombers took what they could, which was the underneath throw to Watson and a field goal opportunity.
And Brandon Isaac's been shaken up. The Sam linebacker. And he is up and on his way to the Calgary bench, and Justin Pilardi in the field goal unit coming on for the Bombers. Pilardi, who missed his first two last week, heard some boos.
Yes, he did.
Are we going to blame it on the holder, Javon Johnson, who was holding for the first time?
Well, they always do, don't they?
Yep. But after that, he got back into form.
And he's off to a good start. I mean, he's hit on 6 of 8, just missed those first 2.
Hit 4 last week. And this will be from 38. And it's blocked. First field goal blocked this season. The Bombers have had a punt blocked, and now Pilardi's first attempt of the night goes awry.
Well, the Calgary Stampeders loaded up the left side of the formation. I believe it was Johnny Dixon that might have got there. Number 27 for the Calgary Stampeders. And they're coming off the edge. They're loading it up, and Johnny Dixon really gets the corner here from that left edge.
No yards. Winnipeg number 47. It's a 15-yard penalty. First down.
Timing looked good. The hold was there by Javon Johnson, but you just can't allow a player like Johnny Dixon with that kind of quickness, a clear shot right off the edge. He was the guy in the two-point stance and got there in a hurry. Brandon Stewart's got to get a little more of a push on him.
So the Bombers come away empty after the turnover by Calgary last week. 5 stamp turnovers, and BC only generated 3 points off those turnovers. There's a former Winnipeg Blue Bomber, Robbie Bryant, with his first catch of the night.
Just 6 catches, off to a little bit of a slower start than a year ago for Robbie Bryant. Of course, last year with his 15 touchdowns, it was a pretty awesome year for Robbie Bryant, number 83, and he's just been a little bit longer getting on the same page with Henry Burris this year. He's not had a touchdown yet.
Burris missed him a couple of times deep in the opening game of the year against the Argos. Second and a couple. Joffrey Reynolds. And at the 50-yard line, he'll have the first down. Well, will he be as easy to stop as Corey Boyd was? Boyd 7 for 14 last week, and Odell Willis thought they'd do a better job on Reynolds. And you know, Calgary made note of that comment.
Yeah, some borderline trash talking from Odell Willis yesterday at the walkthrough as he compared playing against Corey Boyd of the Argos and Joffrey Reynolds.
Well, this time they fake to Reynolds and pressure. Oh, the British down back in his 36. Doug Brown, Kenny Maynard put on the heat, and Burris goes down. And it's another sack, the 10th of the year for the blue chip defense here in Winnipeg.
Well, Kenny Maynard is getting a chance to play in a rotation here, and what the Bombers are going to do is have Clinton Kent take contain, so he has no responsibility outside and can shoot the gap inside. Catches that offensive line and slide protection. He comes right off the edge in it. Inside pass rush and nowhere to go for Henry Burris.
Final play of the quarter, and downfield is knocked away. What a break on the ball from Jonathan Hefty, intended for Robbie Bryant, who looked open for a moment. Well, we talked about good defense. We had plenty of it in the opening quarter. 15 minutes. If you're a Calgary fan, you're saying, yeah, we've started slow in our first 2 games. And if you're a Bomber fan, you're saying that's the kind of defense that we like and we're getting used to.
Yeah, just 22 net yards for Calgary. You know, when I asked Doug Brown yesterday about that defense, he said, well, the one thing we have to do, we have a young group that's aggressive, but we have to be consistent. Well, they've taken the 2 games of momentum and they've moved it into that first quarter. They played great.
Well, you heard Milt and Matt say they're in. Schultze was hesitant about whether or not he sold on Winnipeg, but that 15 minutes might help convince him. Because I think everybody wanted to see what they do against a high-powered offense, and for 15 minutes, that was impressive.
Well, the defense still looks great, but now the offense has got to catch up. Buck Pierce has got that time of possession advantage, but they keep on first down. They take those losses. They get themselves in second and more than 10. So first down production, even if you're throwing the football away for Winnipeg, is going to help their offense tremendously.
Burke Dales boots it away. And no yards penalty will be called here as Javon Johnson fielded the punt. And if you joined us late, the biggest play of that first quarter wiped out by penalty. A Javon Johnson 87-yard punt return for a touchdown taken off the board.
No yards. Calgary, number 80. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Johnny Forzani, and here is Sean Churchill.
Thank you very much, Chris. There's a lot of optimism in Winnipeg, not only because the team is 2-0, but because they sold more than 21,000 season tickets in the offseason. That is a brand new mark for the franchise. Not bad for a team that was 4-14 a year ago and missed the playoffs. Part of the excitement is the brand new stadium going up at the University of Manitoba. That'll be the home of the Blue Bombers starting 2012. So come November, we close the doors on 58 years of legendary football here at Canadian Stadium. Guys?
Pressure on Pierce here, and he'll step up and hit the deck in the nick of time in front of the safety Eric Fraser. Close to a first down, and Buck Pierce has got to do that.
Yeah, you know, when you talk about what Sean was mentioning, you feel the excitement in Winnipeg this year, and a team that has figured out a way to win those close games early on in this season. This will be the last trip to this stadium for the Calgary Stampeders, and Dave Dickinson remembers back. He has some fond memories here back to the '98 Grey Cup when he was the backup quarterback against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Played that Grey Cup here. Jeff Garcia was the starter, and guess who the third-team quarterback was on that team? Henry Burris. Yep.
And again, because the holder is so important, Dave Dickinson, a holder on a Grey Cup winning play here.
Yeah, so they were reminiscing a little bit about that '98 Grey Cup, because it is the last time Calgary will play here at Canadian Stadium, or Winnipeg Stadium back then. And he said he threw one pass in that game that was dropped by Calvin Anderson on a fake field goal, and he thought, I've got to get back to a Grey Cup because I don't want to be 0-1 career in Grey Cup games because of that drop. But he was the holder on the McLaughlin field goal.
And then came back in '06 and completed a whole bunch in a BC Lion Grey Cup victory.
Yes, sir.
Here in Winnipeg. First down after the short yardage team came in with Alex Brink. Buck Pierce back to work, and he's going to throw again, and he's going to take a little more punishment.
But this is what I talked about at the end of the first quarter. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers moving the ball pretty well, and then they'll get into a first down about this positive part of the field for them, and then take a loss. That time Buck quickly recognized it. They've made the adjustments. Now he's going to run a little bit more. He's done it on this series twice, and just get even 1 yard positive to give him a manageable situation on second down and not 2nd and 15 or more.
Got the 2 leading rushing quarterbacks in the early season here. Henry Burris is number 1. Buck Pierce is second. 2nd and 9 here, rolling out. Hughes from the backside with pressure. And that ball knocked away by Brandon Isaac. And another late hit on Buck Pierce. The pass was intended for Clarence Denmark.
Second time he's been real slow to get up, and this time limping noticeably, and that was late as well.
Major foul, roughing a passer. Calgary, number 46, 15 yards, automatic first down.
Robert McCune, who had a clean shot on Travis Lulay last week.
The question you've got to ask, and I know Calgary fans are wondering, is Robert McCune, could he have pulled off and avoided that contact once the ball is gone? And if the answer to that question is yes, he could have veered away and avoided the hit, then that flag will be thrown every single time.
So the Bombers with a first down at the 32. Back to 32. And he has dropped Fred Reed at the 26-yard line.
Jamie Barise has talked to Buck Pierce about being Buck, meaning if you see the run and an opening to go ahead and take off, do what you do, but be more careful to hook slide. He's done that this year. Those were 2 late hits that rattled Buck in this game a little bit.
5 for Reed, who's had 87 and 63-yard games so far this season. 2nd and 5. Buck stands in over the middle. Terrence Jeffers Harris. And now the ruling incomplete. Some of the Bombers waving to Paul LaPolice to challenge this call. Let's take another look.
Well, Buck Pierce has got a little bit of pressure coming from the outside. That time Justin Phillips does a nice job of not making contact and drawing a penalty when he sees the ball gone, and now it was a question of whether or not that was caught at the other end.
Trapped it against his leg in the field, and looks like a pretty good call.
Hard to tell if he had control from that angle because he's blocking the football. It certainly doesn't look like he has it at the bottom. It was whether or not he had control early, took a step or two, and then lost control as he went to the ground. So I think that's what Paul LaPolice wants to take a look at. Did he catch it?
Winnipeg is challenging the rule on the field of an incomplete pass.
Did he catch it, take a step or two, and then start to lose control and essentially, you know, press the football against the turf as a fumble, not an incompletion? That's what the challenge is here.
So we'll let the command center give the final verdict. Gives us a chance to ask you a question. We've seen Buck Pierce take 2 late hits already in this game. You played defense. Does Calgary have the mindset that they can afford to take those shots and knock a guy like Buck Pierce with his history out of the game?
I'd like to say, Chris, that no, that you want to always play within the rules. But I guarantee you that at times when you know you're playing against a quarterback that has had his issues, to play to the, let's put it this way, the echo of the whistle is something that you've talked about many times as a defensive player in many huddles, and I certainly know that we have.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. It's an incomplete forward pass. It is 3rd down.
So neither challenge has worked so far. Well, Buck Pierce's durability has been tested. He finished only 2 of his 5 starts last year, and Calgary trying to test whether or not he's going to finish his 3rd start this season. So Justin Pilardi back in. His last field goal attempt was blocked by Johnny Dixon. This from 34 yards out. It's away, and it's good. And the Bombers' lead is 4.
interesting. We asked Heather, who's your favorite player? And she immediately said Doug Brown.
There's Henry Burris back to work, an open man. And R.J. Franklin's got a catch and brought down by Javon Johnson.
She said Doug Brown right away, and then she forgot. She said, well, maybe I should mention my dad first, and then Doug Brown second. But
and Andy wanted us to say hi to Kelly and Eddie in Attawapastack.
Good job.
On James Bay watching the game tonight. They work for Eddie, but great fan, or work for Andy. Great fans. And
20 years
season ticket holders, yep.
Yeah.
Up there in row U. And he stumped us with a little trivia that we might get to later. Short yarders, Michael Bishop stood up and then rolled for about 10 when it looked like he almost didn't get the initial first down.
Well, he never did go down, I don't believe. But you know what this does? This opens up the door. If a quarterback is going to go into the back of a pile like that and then decide to just spin out of there and continue on, he's going to take a lot more hits the next time. I guarantee the Bombers will make sure he's down on the next short yardage play. A good pickup and awareness from Michael Bishop.
We hear Drew Tate will be throwing the football starting Monday. Bishop brought in to replace him. Burris. Kenyon Rambo a catch. And another Calgary first down into Bomber territory at the Winnipeg 40.
You know, Joe Lobendon is the middle linebacker in charge of tracking Joffrey Reynolds here. And even though the fake wasn't real smooth, Lobendon right here gets a little tight and then doesn't get underneath the throw in his drop, number 58 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He's going to look at that run first, then he's a little bit shallow on the drop over the middle.
Double tights, 1st and 10. Quick hitter, and the ball in and out of the hands of Rambo, who was out of the lineup last week with a hamstring problem after 7 catches against Toronto in week 1.
I mentioned that I'd had a good conversation with Doug Brown, who has said at the beginning of the season that this will be his last year. And when you take a look at the interior defensive linemen, stars of the past, only John Helton has been honored as an All-Canadian more than Doug Brown. The interior of the defensive line was also the outstanding Canadian in 2001.
That jersey already in tatters.
Up against Demetrius Suplas here.
2nd and 10. Pressure, dumped off. Nick Lewis. And Lewis down by Jonathan Hefty. It's another first down.
Well, Henry Burris had time to throw. And when he had time to throw, it allowed Nick Lewis to get through the formation and to the other side. And the reason he had time to throw was because Demetrius Suplas did his job. A good matchup that we're going to take a long look at here tonight. Look at Demetrius Suplas working one-on-one on big Doug Brown. 2 big bodies banging away.
They stay in that double tight end formation. Baker Reynolds was looking deep, but now throws it away. Good coverage. Javon Johnson was all over Rami Bryant, and it looked like Burris was looking for number 83.
This time Doug Brown goes on Suplas, who is in his first game off a hamstring injury, who passes him off to O'Neill. O'Neill picks him up a little bit late, but when Brown flashed there in the middle, that forced Henry Burris to the right side of the pocket, and he decided to throw it out of bounds and save any type of loss. So this matchup going head-to-head 6 times so far in this game. It's been Brown against Suplas.
All-Canadian against all-Canadian. 6 receivers out, quarterback draw, and he'll be wrapped and thrown down by the former Stampeder, Odell Willis.
Quarterback draw gets disrupted by penetration in the interior, and this time Doug Brown gets some help from Dorian Smith, who will line up inside. Again, another one of those underrated Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He's going to get that penetration, number 90, and that causes problems on the draw immediately. You can see Henry Burris now has to try and sidestep that tackle first, and he runs right into the arms of the CEO.
So Rene Paredes comes on. 50-yarder last week, 2 for 2 after being cut by Winnipeg and finding a job in Calgary, and that was blocked. Boy, the defense extending to terrific special team play too. trade field goal blocks, and it remains 4-0 Peg.
Kenny Maynard's making a difference in this game for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, not only in his rotation on defense, but he cuts through there between Stanley Bryant and Adrian Davis. He's right here in that down position. Now it's Davis, number 90, who's got to come and seal, inside. As they go inside right there, watch number 54 shoot the gap. That's Adrian Davis' responsibility in there. He gets the block, second in the game.
Don't remember when we've had field goals for either team block this early. Terrence Jeffers Harris the catch. Let's join Sean Churchill with a special guest.
Thank you very much, Chris. All the way from Morena, Manitoba. That's about an hour and a bit north of Winnipeg. Here is James Reimer, the starting goaltender of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And James, and I know you're a huge swimmer as a kid, and hockey obviously a big thing. Are you a CFL fan?
Definitely. I love the CFL. I mean, growing up, I liked the game of football as well as hockey, but you know, the Bombers were my team. My whole family loved them, and the whole community. So it's fun to be here and watching the sidelines.
You signed a brand new 3-year contract last month. How does it feel to have a solidified position going into training camp?
It feels great. I mean, anytime you get a little bit of security for 3 years, and with such a great team like Toronto, I mean, the fans have been great there. They treated me so good, and it's been overall just a great experience, especially with the end of how the last year ended. And you know, I'm glad to get a contract, and hopefully we can make the next 3 years you know, memorable.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the night.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And you'll get the chance to play, you would expect, against the Jets in Winnipeg this season. That'll be a big bonus for one of the great stories of last NHL season. Well, you saw the holding call that negates a Corey Watson catch. And the Bombers back inside their 30 over the middle. And incomplete. Intended for TJ Harris.
One guy that Buck Pierce has not got involved in this offense just yet has been Terrence Edwards. And he's worked the ball inside to Corey Watson a couple of times with sort of mixed results. Terrence Edwards, their go-to receiver from a year ago, has been pretty quiet here tonight. 0 catches so far.
So 2nd and 20. And only Adrian Davis down. Corey Watson. And he's got a first down and running into Calgary territory. Oh, the quick hitter. And he sliced through an open part of that Calgary defense.
Great read and react here by Buck Pierce, who saw and recognized the Calgary defense coming from the left side. You see the void they left in the middle with Juwan Simpson dropping way out of there deep, and that's where the quick hitter comes from the left side offensively for Buck Pierce. He leads it out there in front of Corey Watson, and he runs away from his man.
Second-year man, 4th catch of the night, that for 34 yards. His first CFL touchdown came last year in the final game against Calgary. Inside, a short gain for Reed, Juwan Simpson there. But Corey Watson in his second year has had a good first half and is starting to establish himself. They've been looking for a Canadian receiver for a long time in Winnipeg who could be a go-to guy.
27 out of Concordia. And, you know, last year, his breakout game was against the Calgary Stampeders. He had a couple of catches and a big one. He had 67 yards in that game and his first touchdown.
2nd and 7. That's picked up. Keon Raymond, but Pierce not going to catch him. And Raymond has a Calgary touchdown. 65 yards. And on a night when we've talked a lot about defense, the Calgary defense makes the biggest play so far.
It looks like they just fooled Buck Pierce here. They look like they're going to play some man-to-man, and then they drop off, believe in zone, and Keon Raymond just cuts underneath that out throw to Terrence Edwards, and he will not be caught with that kind of a lead.
Second interception of the year for Keon Raymond.
Happy birthday, Bianca. For you, baby.
And the extra point is good.
Oh, yeah.
And just like that, the Stampeders have their first lead.
Today my wife's birthday.
CA. First ever interception return for a touchdown. That's the 4th career touchdown for Keon Raymond.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
Well, they fooled Buck Pierce, and he thought it was his own, but what happened was Keon Raymond played a combination coverage with Brandon Smith. They switched each other's man, and he just jumped him.
Come to play. I'll give you a little phone. Oh, yeah. I appreciate that. Oh, yeah. Hey, I can't.
So the Stamps with the lead. And Paredes a short kick, and that one going out of bounds at about the 43-yard line. So the Bombers will take it at the 45.
Illegal kickoff. Calgary number 30. First down on the 45-yard line.
Let me show you how Keon Raymond and Brandon Smith passed off each other's man. Terrence Edwards running that route. TJ Harris is running this one. These are the two guys that are in coverage together. They're playing man-to-man, but they drop each other's man they just make a quick switch there. Now, Brandon Smith has TJ Harris, and Keon Raymond just jumps underneath Terrence Edwards, and he's gone to the house. Buck Pierce thought zone. He got man.
But back to the ground, and there's Fred Reed with a short gain, a couple for Reed.
See, when Buck Pierce sees Brandon Smith, 28, drop his man there, he's thinking zone and that Terrence Edwards will be wide open in the flat. He doesn't know that they've just switched receivers, and Keon Raymond takes that one back on the hip of Terrence Edwards to the house. So Buck Pierce reads zone. He's thinking, okay, my flat man should be open. Let's go with it quickly. Keon Raymond, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya.
4th interception by that Calgary revamped secondary on the year. It's the 3rd toss by Buck Pierce in 3 weeks. 2nd and 8. And he does that to Clarence Denmark, a first down across midfield. Denmark made a good impression last week in his CFL debut. 3-minute warning in Winnipeg. You've seen, and a lot of defense in this first half.
You know, Milt Stegall had a great stat before the game in the pregame show. He mentioned that Joffrey Reynolds, when he has 10 carries or more last year, the Calgary Stampeders were 12-0 and 1-5 when he had less than 10 carries. Calgary back with just 1 carry in this one for Calgary, but they have the lead because of the Buck Pierce interception. Winnipeg offense hasn't been real productive in the first 2 wins of the season, but they haven't hurt the team either. We'll see if they can bounce back from that pick by Keon Raymond.
Have a first down across midfield after the catch by Denmark. Has time, wants to go deep. Wants Terrence Edwards, and incomplete. Eric Fraser back in the area. Double coverage.
And you wonder, Chris, if some of those early hits, when we mentioned that the Calgary Stampeders have, let's just say, played to the echo of the whistle. This was a clean play by Charleston Hughes early, but a late hit there by Demetrius Morley. And a couple of late ones on Buck Pierce, and if he's rushing the throws just a little bit now because of that early contact.
And have we seen Demetrius Morley since that 15-yard penalty? Eric Fraser's at safety at 2nd and 10. Pierce again, and that's incomplete. That last pass, the previous pass to Edwards, a deep shot that he missed on, and he missed about 4 of those last week because they tried to go deep on the Argos.
This was a corner route, and again, I believe it was Terrence Edwards he was looking at, but it looked like Buck Pierce, when he saw the coverage, tried to pull it back. I believe, again, it was Brandon Smith in coverage. He had cut underneath.
Renault looking for the sidelines, and Larry Taylor will get bumped out just beyond the 10-yard line. So a good kick, 44 yards into the corner for Renault, and 2:33 on the clock for Calgary, deep in their own zone here in this second quarter.
And you wonder if that will be the Calgary adjustment. They've been having some issues up front with this Winnipeg defensive line and how well they've played over the first 2.5 games. And is Joffrey Reynolds the answer to try and start to allow their offensive line to tee off on that front 4 for Winnipeg? Craig Dickinson, the play caller for Calgary. Or excuse me, Dave Dickinson.
Stampeders with only 12 first half points this season. carrier taken down quickly. Well, we talked to Doug Brown earlier today about the new architect of the Blue Bombers defense.
He brings a philosophy and a system with him that's really forged in championship steel, I think, from Montreal. So we understand as players when he introduces his system that, you know, this system works. This has gotten teams, this has won them titles in the CFL before. So it really places the onus on us as players to know that we need to execute, we need to be accountable to one another and the system in order to make it work.
Tim Burke's defense trying to get a stop here. Henry Burris steps up, downfield, jump ball, and a great knockdown. Javon Johnson.
You know, we've talked at length about the front four for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on defense, but again, when you look at this secondary, I have not seen a wide open Calgary receiver. Every throw contested. There's always a guy in the vicinity. This time it's Javon Johnson, battles all the way back to get in front of Johnny Forzani there and knock it out of his hands. There's not been a lot of room for the Calgary receivers.
Calgary scored 4 points in the first quarter, 8 in the second quarter of the first 2 games. Their points tonight from the defense, and the Bombers will get the ball in great field position as Javon Johnson is dropped at the Calgary 49-yard line, an 11-yard return after a 42-yard boot.
Buck Pierce tried to go deep twice in the last series, and sometimes when you do that, even if it's not complete, you're trying to plant the seed in the opponent's secondary and say that we're going to try and stretch the defense deep. There's his numbers as we end this first half comes to an end. I wonder if it opens up some underneath routes now.
Four-man rush, another shot, there's no Edwards, and he's on his feet, and he's in the end zone. Wow.
They saw something. That's the third straight pass in a row. They tried to go deep to Terrence Edwards. And third time lucky if you're a Bomber fan. And Demetrius Morley is the safety in the middle that's going to miss the tackle on Edwards late. He does not wrap up. Buck Pierce throws Terrence Edwards open. And he does the rest.
48-yard touchdown play. And Terrence Edwards has his second major of the season, the only Bomber receiver that's hit pay dirt so far. As Winnipeg retakes the lead.
Nice shot, team.
Great route running from Terrence Edwards.
And the extra point from Pilardi is through. 11-7 as Buck Pierce atones for the interception he threw on the previous series.
Well, Buck Pierce will lay it out, but watch the route running here. Terrence Edwards going to come out. He's going to work the outside and then bend it back into the middle. It's just tremendous route running. Watch how he's going to get that outside release on Brandon Smith and then another jab to the outside to get right to the numbers and then work his way back to the middle. And Buck Pierce leads him just in front of the safety, Demetrius Morley, but just inside of Brandon Smith. Morley doesn't wrap up on the tackle, and Terrence Edwards is in that blue paint in the end zone for Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Great route running. Nice work by our ISO down in the truck to get that touchdown. And Buck Pierce stretches that defense, and it pays off. Second touchdown throw of the season for him.
Everybody back in Washington County. That's for y'all, back in Georgia. Working the University of Georgia. Here we go.
Former Georgia Bulldog, 12 touchdowns last year. He was the outstanding player of the Bombers. And he has their biggest offensive play of the night. A 48-yard touchdown catch. Minute 45 left here in the first half. Remember last week, Calgary scored in their final possession of the first half to take the lead in BC.
But that first touchdown in this game for Winnipeg coming off the heels of another stop, another 2-and-out by the Bomber defense to get great field position and get Terrence Edwards open. sometimes it's just about getting the ball to your playmakers, your best players. And just as we were saying that Terrence Edwards was having a quiet game, Buck Pierce went 3 times in a row deep to him and hooked up on the 3rd attempt.
Maloney with the wind at his back. And here comes Taylor. Up across the 35-yard line for Taylor. Merrill Johnson in on the tackle, along with Jason Nugent.
Lots of time here. Sorry, Chris.
Lots of time, yeah.
Lots of time for Henry Burris. Again, it's still been a quiet evening so far for Joffrey Reynolds. Now, they might want to put it in the air a little more with 1:39 left in this first half.
But Henry Burris, so far, 60 yards passing. He can have 60 in the first possession some nights. Here they come again. He gets it away deep. And incomplete. Closest man to it was the safety, Ian Logan. But Kenny Maynard, or was it Kashama who was bearing down on Burris again?
They've been in that rotation. Ferdinand Kashama and Kenny Maynard. Maynard we've seen in the backfield a couple times
It's
defensively. Kashama gets a little bit of pressure there in the push. And a couple of receivers in the same area for Calgary with Nick Lewis and Johnny Forzani. That doesn't happen, or shouldn't happen.
And he's got a big first down to Kenyon Rambo, who's been working against tight coverage from Jonathan Hefney tonight.
Boy, that takes trust, and that's when you get your playmaker back in Kenyon Rambo. If you're Henry Burris, you've got to throw it to the spot. Kenyon Rambo, the slot on the short side, and Burris guns it in there. That's timing and trust. A small window, and he nails right between the 8 and 5 his go-to receiver.
21-yard play. And into Bomber territory. And Burris with a flag down is flush from the pocket, takes off and hits the deck. In front of Brandon Stewart, coming back on a holding call against Calgary.
Holding. Calgary number 67. 10-yard penalty remains, first down.
That's the right guard, Dimitris Supas.
Well, he's been working either on Doug Brown or Dorian Smith. This time it's going to be Dorian Smith in the middle. Watch him get an inside pass rush on Dimitris Supas, and he locks his arm around the shoulder pads right there of Dorian Smith, pulls him down. Play took a little too long, and that's the holding call.
How about that pressure without Doug Brown or Odell Willis in the front form? They're back now. First and 20. And Joffrey Reynolds, big game. And Reynolds just outdid Corey Boyd on one carry, and it's a big one. Back into Bomber territory at about the 47.
Just a great call here by Dave Dickinson for the Calgary Stampeders, and he's going to get a block by Supas here. The little delayed draw play to Joffrey Reynolds in first and real long after the holding penalty. And with the Bombers now thinking pass and trying to get upfield, their D-line runs past the run.
17-yard gain. Second down. Burris again in trouble. Lost his helmet and is dropped short of the first down. And he must have a case on the face mask because the helmet got ripped off.
Yeah, and I think he does have an argument. I don't see a flag down on the field. You obviously can't challenge a penalty or not, but he lost his helmet. I believe it was Doug Brown trying to reach for him. Look at 97. He's trying to reach with the left hand. Well, you know what? It looked like he did get on the back of his shoulder pads, and the helmet just popped off on its own.
Timeout. Winnipeg.
You'd think it would be automatic if he loses his helmet.
Yeah.
That must have been a face mask, but he didn't. He got him on the shoulder pad.
The big Grizzly took a swipe and the helmet came off, and for Henry it's a good thing that was all that came off.
And by the way, Tom Higgins, the head of officiating, has noticed that these helmets for a lot of players in the first couple of weeks of the season have been popping off pretty easily. And it shouldn't, with the chin straps done up properly. That helmet shouldn't come off that easily from Henry Burris, because it becomes a real safety issue, and the teams have been sent out a memo to make sure that all the players are buckling down their chin straps properly and getting fitted for their helmets properly.
Dale puts it away. There gets Johnson, and another no yards call, we presume. Flag down. 43 seconds on the clock.
Well, interesting here with 43 seconds. It's almost time for Buck Pierce to drive to field goal range, but you're in a very dangerous part of the field.
No yards. Calgary, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Now this helps the Winnipeg Blue Bombers cause in a big way, because that was caught in the air by Javon Johnson, so it's a 15-yard penalty.
So you start around your 30. You have a 4-point lead, but you just came off your best drive of the game. So do you play it close to the vest, or do you attack again? See what Tunnel Police decides.
I think you attack.
Brandon Smith has the second Calgary interception, and now the Stamps get an opportunity to regain the lead before time is out.
You know, good players bounce back. Remember when Terrence Edwards went deep for his touchdown, he was running on Brandon Smith. The halfback who leads his team in tackles, he bails here. He's getting real tight, and I think that's why Buck Pierce thought he had the rail right down the sideline. But Brandon Smith reads his eyes and just plays the football perfectly. And that's bouncing back. You give up a touchdown, come back and make a play in the next series. Brandon Smith, his first interception of the season.
Had 4 last year, all against Edmonton. A pair of 2 interception games. At the 45, here comes the end around to Ronald Bryant. And he's strung out, taken down, and Javon Johnson's all over the field.
And these helmets are coming off quickly. And this is what's going to happen, is that the officials are going to warn the players to make sure they're buckled up properly. And if they're not, they're going to get a penalty and have to leave the game for 3 plays to get their equipment fixed. And it looks like, to me, Javon Johnson's got his buckled up.
Lewis, a good catch at the 35. It's going to be a yard short. 19 seconds on the clock. And does John Hufnagel take his 3, or does he want more? Looking for a measurement to help him decide.
Yeah, and that ball was caught by Nick Lewis right in front of John Hufnagel. So this measurement is twofold. One, it buys him some time to think about what he might want to do here with 19 seconds. He gets another couple of 2-3 plays, or does he go ahead and try the field goal here now and take the 3 points? Normal situation, you gamble there inside of a yard. Go ahead and get that first down and get a new set of downs, but he only probably has, after a short yardage play, maybe 2 more plays in this half.
So the offense stays on the field.
Now the Bomber defense is going to want to try and hold up Henry Burris here. Take some more time off the clock if they can.
The big boys will hunker down. Michael Bishop back in. And it is a first down. Sorry, Henry Burris in.
He's usually
take that plunge.
Yeah, it usually is Michael Bishop in short yardage. That's why I was wondering if there might be something up there for the Calgary Stampeders on 3rd down to fake the quarterback sneak and drop out of there.
Now they take the timeout, and Burris to the sidelines to confer.
At this point in the field, Burris can throw it to the end zone. So they have that opportunity to take one play, take one shot, and then you can put your field goal team out there if you only have a few seconds left.
And with 13 seconds, it is likely going to the end zone. a shot, and if not, Brendan Paradis will come on. But they want more than 3. And flag down. Burris got away. And sidearms it incomplete. John Cornish was there, but looks like another penalty, and this might knock them out of field goal range.
And it looks like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have found another rush end. Kenny Maynard has been talked about a lot in this first half, and I believe the holding was the man trying to block him.
Calgary number 67. A 10-yard penalty remains, first down.
Well, that's Dimitri Sumpas, and you won't see him get called more than once for holding in a game usually, but just back after missing most of training camp and preseason and the first 2 regular season games.
I think that call was against Gerald Cadigan on Kenny Maynard, and they got the wrong number on Sumpas. Maynard was tackled off the edge by 61.
So now Calgary's offense stays out. 5 seconds left, and it would be a field goal of over 50 against the wind. They'll try a quick one to get out of bounds, and that's a well-executed play with 1 second left to get the field goal unit on. Great execution there by John Huffnagel's crew.
And clock management by 1 second. Because they were out of field goal range. You got a good cushion on the outside. That's Dion Beasley forced to play corner, and he gives lots of room to Rambo. Turns it out, saves 1 second for his field goal team.
So Paradis, who's had one blocked, will try this one from 41. And the bomber cut misses, and Javon Johnson going to try and get it out to save the point. He does. And maybe more.
That's up.
Look out! Look out! And finally angled out around the 50. That was interesting. Javon Johnson has a big half, and Paradis comes away empty. 11-7 halftime in Winnipeg. Half at Canada Stadium, a 4-point Winnipeg lead, and Sean Churchill's on the sidelines with Henry Burris.
Henry, you're under all kinds of pressure as a quarterback. What can you do to alleviate that pressure going into the second half?
Well, we just got to do things, to get the ball out of our hands quicker. And, of course, with them rushing upfield, they're going to leave rushing lanes for me. So I'm going to start taking that as well. But right now it's just all about getting the ball out of our hands, getting back to being balanced with the run, and keep them off balance.
You guys are a second-half team so far this season. Can you use that experience going into tonight?
Oh, we're looking forward to it. We're ready to get out here and get going. They've been doing a good job of not allowing us to finish our drives. We made some mistakes, but we made some good adjustments in the locker room, and let's see what can happen here in the second half.
Thanks so much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Well, Henry Burris anxious to get going in the second half. Buck Pierce, a different story as Joey Elliott's warming up to start the second half, and we're told that Buck is out with a quad injury.
Didn't bring his helmet out, so he'll be on the bench with the baseball cap on, and it will be Joey Elliott. Hasn't thrown a pass this year. Completed just shy of 48% last year in limited action. So quad injury, those hits in the first half on Buck Pierce
And
taking their toll.
Sorry, Glenn, the alarm bells start to ring again. Again, 2 games completed last year for Buck Pierce. This one high in the air, jump ball. Robbie Bryant missed it, and the Bombers get it as they play that wind that is about 20 to 25 k an hour and almost hold it up for a Calgary recovery.
Well, last year when Stephen Giles got hurt, Alex Brink got hurt, Joey Elliott got a chance to play a little bit. He played versus the Calgary Stampeders last year, went 13 of 29 in that game.
And suddenly it gets a little quiet here as it sinks into this Winnipeg crowd that their starting quarterback's not in the game. Brett Reed is tackled by Charleston Hughes. Short gain. So Joey Elliott, and you mentioned Stephen Giles. This was why the trade to Toronto was somewhat contentious, because in many circles it seemed to leave Winnipeg exposed if something happened to Buck Pierce, but the Bombers say they've got lots of confidence in this second-year man out of Purdue. 2 game starts last year for Joey Elliott. His first pass through the hands of T.J. Harris, incomplete. A 2-and-out to start.
Well, T.J. Harris puts this on the ground. It would have a chance to move the sticks and maybe get Joey Elliott in his first game action in 2011 a chance to try and get into some sort of rhythm, but he lets that one go through his hands. He takes a big hit by Juwan Simpson, the one he should have caught.
So Mike Renaud will kick it away to Larry Taylor. Good line drive boot away from Taylor, and wow, it does not get better than that. Mike Renaud right off the pylon inside the 1, a 66-yard beauty. A punter's dream, 66 yards into the corner, and just in front of that cone. A 109-yard field ahead of Henry Burris. Reynolds in the end zone and out beyond the 5 for a little breathing room.
Mike Renaud just signed a contract extension and plays a nice draw here, gets a great roll, and you can't kick it any better than that. 66 yards just inside the cone. And it put the Calgary Stampeders in the worst possible field position. Now, Joffrey Reynolds got him a chance.
Just his 3rd carry of the game. 6 yards at 2nd and 4. And Burris, nobody home. Pressure. And he'll be pushed out short of the first down. Marcellus Bowman was there, and great coverage in that Bomber secondary.
Well, and Ferdinand Kashama does a nice job of redirecting and buying himself some time so his linebackers can catch up. He's going to come off the edge and get in the backfield on Henry Burris. Steps up the field, number 56, to the right side of your screen. See that redirect right there? He closed off the inside gap and then bounced outside. That bought Marcellus Bowman some time to get there and hold Henry Burris short. It'll be interesting to see what Calgary does. Do they kick it away into this win or give up 2?
There's Javon Johnson awaiting at the Stamp 50. Dale's in his end zone, and he'll give it up.
Let him go, let him go!
And eat up a little bit of the clock, and now steps out. So it's a 6-point Bomber lead early 3rd quarter. Odell Willis another, and Charleston Hughes, there's another jump ball, and the Bombers come up with it again. Calgary's been close on those last 2 kickoffs, playing that sky ball into the wind.
That's great strategy because the ball's live after 10 yards. It hangs up there. Rene Paradis does a nice job of putting air under this ball, and both times he's given his cover teams a chance to get there first. I won't be surprised if they have to kick off again into this win that the Bombers will put out their hands team.
That's Robbie Bryant twice with a shot at the football. And Perry Floyd comes down with it for the Bombers. So if you're checking back in with us a little late for the second half, it is Joey Elliott. Buck Pierce is done for the night. Reportedly a quad injury, and that pass through the hands of Denmark. And then Johnny Dixon unable to bring it down as well.
Yeah, a little surprised here in the play calling that the Bombers wouldn't try and lean on Fred Reed a little bit just to get the newcomer and Joey Elliott a little more comfortable and into 2nd and shorter situations rather than throwing on 1st down. Now they may want to go to Fred Reed a little more often.
At the 52nd and 10. And he wants to air it out. And that pass incomplete. Terrence Edwards, and step for step was Brandon Smith.
Now, Terrence Edwards tried to sell a call here, and I wasn't buying, neither were the refs. I know some of the crowd wanted to it, but Terrence Edwards here coming down the seam again on Brandon Smith. And you know what, folks, we're watching a good display of secondary play from both of these teams. Brandon Smith is given up one, but he's played very well, and he was in perfect position, looked back at the ball, and no shot. That was pass interference.
A.J. Franklin has dropped deep with Larry Taylor. Let's see what Renault does on this one. Another booming kick, and Franklin's going to field it at his 5. Down. What great cover, and we've seen a lot of it from Winnipeg. 55-yard punt, 5 on the return. Big deal in September of '09 with more Sean Churchill.
Yes, it certainly was an exciting month. Romby Bryant was a member of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at the time, and he fell out of favor with then head coach Mike Kelly, was subsequently traded to Calgary along with R.J. Franklin for 3 players. That included Odell Willis, and it's a trade that turned out perfectly for both teams. Willis became a face here in Winnipeg after 11 sacks a year ago. Well, Romby Bryant racked up more than 1,100 yards a year ago and was the CFL TD reception leader. So once again, it's a trade that worked out on both sides, guys.
Larry Taylor running the football out of the backfield. Another guy involved in that trade was R.J. Franklin, who made an interesting decision on the last punt from Mike Renault.
Well, again, you know, when you're standing on your 10-yard line, if that ball forces you back and you have to catch it inside, you should let it go, especially in a game like this in the third quarter, and take the single and better field position. Now on this second down, they may be forced to have to give up a safety again if they don't get any yards.
And as you've heard tonight, these fans are in Banjo Bowl form. 2nd and 8, and more heat. Burrow steps up, slides, and he is close to the first down, and a late hit will draw a penalty. Clint Kent, when Burris had committed to the feet first slide.
Well, both teams now playing, as we mentioned earlier, to the echo of the whistle. I thought that was a little late on Clint Kent. It was Henry Burris going to slide feet first as well. He could see it.
Foul, unnecessary roughness. Winnipeg, number 41. 15 yards from the end of the play, automatic first down.
Fans don't like it, but I think that Clint Kent could have veered off that at the last second, or at least dove over Henry Burris on that feet first slide. He decided to put his shoulder into him, and that drew the flag.
And because of it, an automatic first down. Looked like Burris might have been spotted about a yard short. So he's let Calgary's offense stay on the field. 35, big to Taylor. And now into the flat to R.J. Franklin. Can't bring it down. Brandon Stewart there in coverage.
I know the fans don't like it, but I think the right call was made there on Clint Kent. He could have veered off. He could have dove over top of Burris and avoided contact, but that's a big penalty. You're right. They may have been punting the football again from deep in their end, and this gives them breathing room, the Calgary Stampeders, to at least punt. Now, he could dive over the pile right there, miss contact, and he leans down into his chin. Big play.
2nd and 10. Early movement. Flag flies. Maybe a free play for Burris to go up top. Johnny Forzani and Javon Johnson with an interference call. So a penalty-aided drive that Calgary's putting together here. And both flags against the Bombers.
The first one looked like offside on the outside on Odell Willis, and you saw the pass interference. And
offside, Winnipeg number 40. That penalty is declined. Forward pass interference, Winnipeg number 2. Automatic first down.
they're going to decline this one. That's the offside on Odell Willis. He gets a jump on the snap count. And then at the other end, it's Javon Johnson. The route is run there by Johnny Forzani when he gets inside position like this. And as he slows down to wait for the football, there is contact made by Johnson prior to the ball arriving.
So 38-yard play because of the penalty. More flags fly, and Burris taken down. And boy, back of his helmet hit the turf hard, but he does bounce up. Fern Kashama supplying the heat, and let's find out what this flag's all about. Already 53 yards against Winnipeg in penalties on this drive, but this one going against Calgary.
What a play by Ferdinand Kashama, former Calgary Stampeder. He's going to take a break after that one, but he's done this a couple of times tonight in his rotation.
Kashama, a former Stampeder, 2009, and Kenny Maynard.
Illegal formation, no end, Calgary. 5-yard penalty remains, first down.
He's a big man at 6'3" and 225, and watch how he takes the run on John Cornish and is quick enough to redirect and run down Henry Burrs. I mean, this is amazing to be able to take the run and then get back outside, use your speed, cause all that kind of problem, and make the tackle.
Former Stamp and Kenny Maynard is in his spot now, was in Calgary's training camp last year. Here's Burris, he's got an open man, and the catch is made by Forzani. Another helmet pops off, and Forzani dropped at the 31-yard line, short of the first down.
Johnny Forzani's trying to have a bounce-back game. He struggled a little bit against BC Lions, had a drop that went for an interception, really didn't fight for a deep ball that went for another one. And I asked Dave Dickinson if he chatted with the young receiver about it. And he said, yeah, I certainly did. I said, you know what I told him? Forget about it. Move on. You're not going to do anything about those plays. They're done. And he's trying to fight his way back here. He had good body position on that curl.
He had 4 catches last week, and twice the ball thrown his way ended up in interceptions, where he didn't help his quarterback. First, but Taylor dropped it with Marcellus Bowman in pursuit.
This happens to returners that play on offense. I mean, Larry Taylor's a returner, and he'll get his opportunities on offense, but you know, they're so used to catching those punts and then just looking for the opening that a lot of times this happens to returners. Well, they'll just before securing a catch, they'll take a peek to where they can make a move in the open field, and that costs them the drop there. But it happens to returners quite often.
So Paradis back on. He's missed one, had one blocked. Statistically, that means he's 0 for 1. And now he is 1 for 2. Cuts the lead in half here, midway through the third quarter.
His current pace, and what a start to the season for arguably the best ever in Anthony Calvillo.
Sprint kick this time by Paradis. Picked up by the diminutive Floyd, and he gets hit just beyond the 40-yard line. Well, our congratulations on tying the mark, and it will either come tomorrow or in the near future. All time will be beside Anthony Calvillo's name.
Yeah, he's up against a good defense. You know, when you're a defense playing against a team and a player that is looking at a big monumental record like that is, you get fired up to try and make sure it doesn't happen on your watch. But we'll see. And congratulations to Anthony Calvillo.
Seen a couple of fired up defenses here. Fred Reed trying to get something going on the ground, and he squirts through up to the 48-yard line.
Yeah,
Pickup of at least 6.
Sorry, Chris. Didn't take Paul LaPolice long to go back and realize that getting Fred Reed involved is going to be a good idea. Now you're looking at a 2nd and 3 or 4 for Joey Elliott. Lots of different plays can be used there. You could even go to the quick passing game, hit screens either side, and move the chains, because it's a realistic opportunity in 2nd and short.
They were impressed with the moxie that Elliott showed last year. In short order, a little play action fake, keeper. A little moxie there, might be just short of the first down.
Now the play action fake did not fool Charleston Hughes, defensive end for the Calgary Stampeders, and it really put Joey Elliott in a bind. In fact, he almost took a 3-4 yard loss there, but it was just his running ability that he was able to escape Hughes' grasp on the outside. But fake did not fool Charleston Hughes.
It is just enough for a first down.
Watch 39. Steps upfield, slow plays this, stays outside, does not worry about that fake. Now he misses the tackle going upfield, but he had to get contained. If Joey Elliott gets outside of Charleston Hughes, then their Calgary Stampeder defense is in big trouble.
That's the initial first down for Joey Elliott at the controls of this Bomber offense. Here in the second half. Short drop over the middle and a completion and a ball loose, and Morley's got it. And Corey Watson will spin him down. Calgary comes up with the ball after it was put on the turf. And now the Bombers arguing that the play should have been ruled dead.
Yeah, I'm not sure though. I think it was T.J. Harris, the intended receiver, coming across, and it looked like he had possession there.
He's down.
Is he down by contact? The question, yeah.
He was tossed down and the ball pops loose, and we'll get a challenge flag from the Bombers as Keon Raymond brings him down, and that looks like the first challenge of the night that will be won.
Well, first of all, it's whether or not he had possession, right? And I think he does, because he takes that step or two with the ball under his arm. Now, if any part of the body touches the ground because he's been contacted other than your hands, you're down by contact immediately, because the ground in that case can't make you fumble.
Challenge flag's been on the field for about 30 seconds.
Winnipeg is challenging the ruling on the field of a fumble. We review the play.
And it's a big call, because Bombers would have a first down at Calgary's 43, or it's another turnover in Calgary football.
Does the ball come loose before the elbow touches the turf? Well, that's the question. Looks like he has possession there. Of the challenges tonight, that's going to be the toughest. It didn't look to me, though, like the ball was moving in the arm. Well, he loses control a little of the tip of the football. That's a tough one. That's a close call.
I don't think it's as tough as you do.
He didn't see any movement. See, the reason I say that is because when you're in control of the ball, you've got both tips of the football covered up, one under your arm and one with your hand over the tip. And Terrence Edwards, T.J. Harris did not have one of the tips of the football covered, which could technically constitute that it was loose in his arm.
They say 3 points, and he might have got down to 2.
Yeah, and so that's the only thing. But the ball didn't really move at all either. So this is a closer one. You think it's down? You think he's down by contact?
I think it's Bomber ball, but the command center may see it much differently.
Good throw by Joey Elliott.
And I'm sure fans in Calgary, Winnipeg are dead evenly split.
After review, the ruling on the field is that the player was down with contact on the field of play at the 49.5 yard line. It will be second down, Winnipeg.
Well, I don't think that was the ruling on the field, but it was the ruling from the command center, and it is going to be Winnipeg football.
Yeah, that was overturned. I mean, that was ruled a fumble when it was on the field. John Huffnagel unhappy, but a good challenge by Paul LaPolice, and it took a little bit more time for the officials to mark the football again, because Demetrius Morley had recovered that fumble for Calgary.
Thought it might have been a first down, but it's about a yard short, and we might even get a measurement here. It's going to be second and a yard, so they've marked it just inside the Calgary 50. So it'll be 2nd and 1 for Elliott and the Bombers offense that stays on the field. Right down, Fred Reed surging for the first down, pending this penalty.
A little bit of movement offensively, I thought, from Winnipeg in that bunch formation a little bit prior to the snap of the football.
Bombers trying to sell it against Calgary. Did they line up offside?
Offside. Calgary number 45. A 5-yard penalty. First down.
This is close. I didn't notice the ball just over the line, so Calgary Stampeders didn't move. They didn't jump. I mean, Charleston Hugh's right hand moved a little bit early, but that didn't cross the line.
And 45's not in the lineup for Calgary there, so I'm not sure who the culprit is. But how about Corey Watson? The kid out of Concordia is having a pretty good night. 22 on his latest catch.
I asked Paul Lapalisse about Corey Watson. I said, is this guy going to be the next Canadian 1,000-yard receiver? And he did not hesitate. Said, absolutely. You know, he sits in film just like young Sean Gore sits beside G. Roy Simon in BC. Corey Watson is right beside Terrence Edwards in film sessions.
Might be on his way to his first 100-yard game, but here's Fred Reed, right side. Dumped at the 18-yard line. Corey Watson has 5 catches, 86 yards on the evening.
And he's playing a different position. He's moved around, so he's had to learn that outside wide receiver position. Last year, he split between receiver to start his career and then slot back. Started in camp at slot back and then moved out to wide receiver. So he's had to really cram to get that playbook down.
Haven't had a 1,000-yard Canadian-born receiver since Gerald Wilcox in 1995. Here comes the house. Elliott got it away. Edwards taken down, and the flag flies. Brandon Smith working against Terrence Edwards, and they've been dueling all night long.
It's been fun to watch. I mean, Brandon Smith has made his plays and had his turn. I think Terrence Edwards sells this again, and this time he gets the refs to buy. Little contact made there.
That's
ball overthrown.
Calgary number 28 in goal. The first down on the 1-yard line.
But Chris, there's no opportunity for a flag there unless Joey Elliott gets rid of the football when he does. The blitz was coming. It was free off the edge. He's got to get that ball out there for Terrence Edwards to even have a chance to draw the flag on Brandon Smith.
Elliott revved up as he comes to the sidelines, and Alex Brink, the third Bomber quarterback, checks in short yardage. Out of Washington State, he had 1 game start last year. James Green in the backfield. Brink will plunge and score, but there is a flag. Offside against Calgary. It is a Winnipeg touchdown.
Offside. Calgary number 31. A penalty at the line. Touchdown.
So all 3 quarterbacks into the act, and Alex Brink into the end zone.
Good blitz pickup to get the ball out of his hands to get it down to the 1-yard line. Alex Brink's come in short yardage, and second effort, he crosses the line.
That'll be the extra point. A 20-10.
Tremendous opportunity for Joey Elliott here. I mean, he's got a full half of football against a very good Calgary team. And he has a chance to sell the coaching staff here in Winnipeg that he is a real option if Buck Pierce gets a little banged up.
And we mentioned Stephen Giles and how that trade raised eyebrows across the league, but the Bombers knew that Buck Pierce has not been able to finish, but had a lot of confidence that Joey Elliott can do the job, and this is his first test.
He didn't get that long one completed to Terrence there, everybody got the next best thing, that penalty flag, and he recognized blitz. He had one drop over the middle earlier. His numbers are a little bit better to TJ Harris. Opportunity here for Elliott to prove something to the coaching staff that he's not just a backup due to injury, that he could be a viable option all year long.
Remember, the Bombers have had the wind advantage in the third quarter. Calgary will get it in the fourth. Larry Taylor works his way across the 40. And finally brought down at the 46. Another good return for Larry Taylor, second in return yards in the CFL so far.
When we started the show, we talked about what will be a great matchup, a game inside of the game between two all-stars, Demetrius Sumpas and Big Doug Brown. In his 11th year, he says it'll be his last. And folks, it has been a battle in the trenches. They've gone head-to-head 13 times tonight. And I don't know who you give the edge to, because it has been a battle. That's the big on big in the interior of that line.
Joffrey Reynolds up across the 50 before Doug Brown wrestles him down.
Right back to the matchup. Sumpas slides across, gets enough of a push on Doug Brown to get his running back a little bit of a bubble. And then Brown makes the tackle, but not before pretty good production from Joffrey Reynolds on first down.
And with that carry, Joffrey Reynolds has passed Leo Lewis, the Bomber grade on the all-time rushing list, into 8th spot. 2nd and 5. And this play doesn't get a lot. Time count, and chalk one up for the Bomber fans.
Time count violation. Calgary number 1. 5-yard penalty. 9th second down.
And they just turned up the volume again, and there's Joffrey Reynolds moving to 8th place all time. And you notice Damon Allen at 3. As we mentioned earlier, Anthony Calvillo will, in his next touchdown pass Damon Allen in that category. But Damon Allen's name's in the record book in a lot of places, and there's Joffrey Reynolds ahead of Leo Lewis.
Leo Lewis, a 6-time All-CFLer in the 50s and 60s. Time count violation, pass, and it's knocked down. What a great play by Dion Beasley, who was not going to start into the game because of the injury to Alex Suber on the first play of the game.
Foul, roughing a passer.
Odell
Winnipeg,
Willis.
number 40. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
So that's 4 roughing the passer penalties, 2 apiece in the game tonight.
Odell Willis is coming on a stunt here, and let's take a look at how late he was, or if he got low or high on Henry Burr as he comes underneath and is clean. And not only does he lead with his helmet, but he's a little bit late and could have pulled up.
And both teams over 100 yards in penalties. The Bombers came in the most penalized team at 104.5 a game. Here's Nick Lewis on that swing pass. What a spin. Lewis still going. Brought down inside the 40-yard line, close to a first down.
There's going to be a full-on helmet investigation.
Well, we have 1 rep. We won't get into companies, but we're being told that a lot of players are using one company's chin straps and another's helmets, and whether or not that's the answer, well, somebody better get to the bottom of it.
And if that's the case, then that's a mistake, because that's again, it becomes a safety issue, and you can't do that because the straps are very important, and they have to match the brand name.
2nd and less than a yard. Fake for Reynolds, and it's complete. And that's Tim St. Pierre, the backup fullback, the former Edmonton Eskimo, making his first offensive play as a member of the Calgary Stampeders. Linebacker in Edmonton, converted to fullback here.
He's the fullback in front of Joffrey Reynolds, as you mentioned. He just slides out, fake to Joffrey Reynolds. That holds the corner or the edge. and freezes the linebackers just long enough to get St. Pierre outside it.
14 yards. They've used Rob Cote in that role 6 times already this year. There's a pass inside, and Franklin, little bobble before he secures the football and then gets brought down by Joe Lobendon.
And he's a little shaken up. You look at the way the Calgary Stampeders are now trying to slow down the pass rush. They're bringing in tight ends here and trying to widen that line a little bit more so that Henry Burris gets more time to throw the football. Now, what it does do, though, is it takes 2 receivers out of the lineup for the Stamps because you go with fullbacks in those tight end positions. But with that Winnipeg pass rush, they're trying to slow them down with tight ends.
That bobble by Franklin really left him exposed for the shot from middle linebacker Joe Lobendon, the defensive player of the week, and he's even feeling the effects.
Well, the panel talked about it at halftime. This has been a hard-hitting game, the hardest that we've done, I think, all year. We showed you some of the contact up in that line of scrimmage and in the trenches in the war zone. There's Doug Brown and Demetrius Suplis. Good hustle by Doug Brown to follow in there and get involved.
Pierre-Luc Labbé will come in for Lobendon. Different set for the Stamps at second and short, and Michael Bishop checks in. Has done a couple of linemen, John Gott, and I think J. Michael Dean has checked in as well. And Bishop ahead. And a flag down as he looks like he reached the 15 where he had to get for a first down.
That was a great trade by the Calgary Stampeders back in 2008 with the Edmonton Eskimos to get Demetrius Suplis.
Offside. Winnipeg, number 54. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Kenny Maynard lined up offside.
Traded John Comiskey, who had some injury issues and ended up retiring. He's now retired. And Kevin Challenger in that trade pick up Demetrius Suplis, who starts in the first year and helps to anchor that offensive line, take him to the Grey Cup.
Interesting part of that story, he was sitting in the Edmonton Eskimo offices waiting to be announced when the trade was made. Take the Reynolds, a pump, and wide open in the end zone. Overthrowing Rambo. Oh, there's one that he'd like back.
And that you just put right on number 1 shoulders and say it was a poor throw, because you can't execute the play any better. A pump fake to Nick Lewis. Everybody reacts from the Winnipeg defense, and Kenyon Rambo won't be this wide open very often. Ball just overthrown.
We talked to Henry last week before the BC game about missing some open targets. That's what he'll think about unless he can make it up here. Back to him. And missed Rambo with Dion Beasley in coverage. On the final play of the third quarter, a 10-point lead. And the Stampeders will have to settle for 3. With Joey Elliott now in the game at quarterback, there are the numbers through 45 minutes.
Yeah, just over 400 net yards combined, and after 3 quarters, especially with a Henry Burris offense, you'd be pushing 600 yards by now combined. So the defenses have put on a show. I mean, I've really enjoyed, and I hope the fans have as well, watching the secondaries play tonight. 2 good defensive secondaries, good coverage downfield, and there's been some battles.
So it's a 10-point lead. Calgary getting set to try field goal. Remember that 7 points for the Stampeders were on an interception by Keon Raymond for a touchdown. So the Bombers' defense is apparently as advertised.
Yeah, and that defense is for real. And when Calgary has moved the ball, it's been aided by penalty, and there's been a lot of that for both teams in this game. I'm talking penalties and penalty yards.
18-yard field goal attempt. This one through. So it's a 7-point game as we start the fourth quarter. And again, the Stamps with the wind at their back,
you know,
in the fourth.
Henry Burris, Chris, overthrew Kenyon Rambo, and in that second attempt, Rambo's the outside receiver. Going to run at full speed here, and I put this one on Rambo because that's a timing cut. That's an out cut that has to be on time, and it looked like he was a little slow coming out of his break there, and not to say lazy, but he needs to make that cut and get to that corner immediately. Now he kind of shows his emotion a little bit there, and almost like he wanted everyone to know it was Henry Burris's fault. It was Henry Burris's fault on the first attempt when he was wide open in the end zone, but I don't put that other one on Rambo.
Bombers back to work in a short gain, a yard or two for Fred Reed. Junior Turner at the bottom of the pile, a kid that looked good last week in his rookie season, had a 3-tackle, 1-sack game and a stop there on Fred Reed. Fred came into the game 104 away from hitting the 4,000-yard mark. The defending rush champion. There's a pass complete, but Terrence Edwards will be stopped short of the first down as he and Brandon Smith continue their personal duel.
And it's been a great one. I mean, 1 touchdown from Terrence Edwards. Brandon Smith with a couple of knockdowns. He has an interception on the sideline just before the half. It seems like when one guy wins one of the battles, the next guy comes back and bounces back and wins the next one. Brandon Smith gets his punt return team on the field.
Mike Renault was huge with the wind in the third quarter, a 66 and a 55-yarder. And this kick into the wind, fielded by Larry Taylor. And he rings into a wall at the 45, a 33-yard kick, 8 on the return. TSN Predictor Plus, just for playing, you could win the ultimate Grey Cup getaway. Get in the game today at tsn.ca/predictor. And this is another example of how tough that job's going to be this year. 7-point game. Calgary trails. They got the football. Jeffrey Reynolds will try the right side. And down as the penalty parade continues. And a holding call will bring this first down run by Reynolds back.
Yeah, I thought Stanley Bryant, the right tackle for Calgary, was hanging on to his block just a little long. I think it was Kenny Maynor again that got up the field. And he was trying to contain Reynolds.
Calgary number 62, 10-yard penalty remains first down.
You know, the difference between the Winnipeg Blue Bombers of 2010 and the Bombers of 11 that are 2-0 has been the fourth quarter. And Paul LaPolice's team has learned how to win these close games. And we'll see if they can pull it off again against a very good opponent here. But their offense has 17 of their over 40 points coming into this game in the fourth, and defense 6 turnovers in the fourth quarter alone.
And only 6 points allowed. First and 20. Burris dancing and now steps up, and there's the feet first slide to get the 10 back from the penalty. Back to the 45.
And a good decision by Ian Logan in what's been a penalty-filled game here. Burris comes and hook slides feet first. Logan came up, looked like he was going to jump on the pile or come over the top, and he backed off so he didn't draw a penalty flag. A couple of interceptions for Ian Logan, who's really taken another step in his progression in his career.
Second and 9.5. Burris over the middle. He's got Rambo. Ball popped loose, and now they're saying incomplete. Jonathan Hefney with enough of a jolt to separate Rambo from the football.
Well, he didn't quit on it. He came across, and Rambo had inside position, and Ian Logan had gone far to the field, so Jonathan Hefney did not have safety help in the middle. But he stuck with it. He broke on the ball, put a good hit on Kenyon Rambo, and that ball comes out.
Not one that Kenyon Rambo normally drops. Another stop for the D. Burt Dales with a blast, and this one's going to sail into the end zone. That'll be a single point, and now it's a 20-14 game. 79-yard single from Dales.
Line and upset with himself there. I mean, he had his issues with his quarterback in the end zone. Henry Burris missed him on one throw, and then he was a little slow coming out of a cut on the next one. That was on him. And then Henry Burris in the very next series goes right back to him in a key situation. And Kenyon Rambo should be much more reliable, puts one on the ground.
Pierce did not return for the second half. If you're joining us late, it's Joey Elliott's game, and he's been taken down on the sack by Devon Claybrooks, his first sack of the year.
They do.
Oldest member of the defensive line of the Stampeders.
And what Devon Claybrooks does here is called a swim move, and he's right over Steve Morley, the right guard for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and he, with the left arm, a shot to the shoulder pad, and with that right arm swims right over the top of Morley.
Second sack of the game for Calgary, their fourth of the year. And now second and 17, three-man rush. And Terrence Jeffers Harris will come back. Justin Phillips sent him back into traffic, and Jawan Simpson upends him. And it will be third down.
Chris Jones likes to mix it up in second and long situations, defensive coordinator for Calgary, and he'll run a lot of different types of looks where he'll loosen up the line of scrimmage a little bit and have linebackers hit it full speed. That time it paid off. Plays in a row, and he gets his defense off the field in a hurry.
Yeah, 2 and outs, so just keep giving the offense good field position as the punt returners are wait about the Calgary 50. Renault. Good boot. And Larry Taylor back inside his 40. Dropped it. Flag, and he's pulled down at the 35-yard line. A good 42-yard boot. Loss of 5 on the return. Our game story brought to you by Mr. Lube.
Buck Pierce was injured, did not come back with his helmet in the second half. It's been Joey Elliott the entire way from Winnipeg in this second half. Henry Burris having some issues against this good Winnipeg defense. And how about Corey Watson's game? Verge of a 100-yard game.
Either starter over 150 on the night. That's a net 55 after a penalty against Jeff Tisdale. On an illegal block after the good kick by Mike Renault. John Cornish stacked up at the 30-yard line, has a pair.
Demetrius Sumpas and Doug Brown, and I just want to show you a shot of Demetrius Sumpas in the locker room before the game. Now you take a look at his hair out the side there, and the reason I bring that up, okay, his teammates think looks like Chad Kruger with the new haircut of Nickelback. So his new nickname by his teammates is Nickelback.
Second and long, Burris over the middle, and knocked down by Hefney as Burris tried to hook up with Kenyon Rambo, and the defensive excellence continues.
Now let's take another look at this one, and does Kenyon Rambo come back and help his quarterback out on this cut? Now he's a premier receiver, and I think he could have taken a step back towards the football to come and help Henry Burris out. He tried to lead him into the middle, but you have to go and own that area if you're a receiver.
4 straight incompletions by Burris, and I think all 4 were to number 85. Johnson at his 25. And got going anywhere this time. Great downfield cover after a 56-yard punt. And Stamp a little slow to get up on the field. And that's the rookie Akwesi Antwi, who's been very good for Calgary on special teams out of Mount Allison.
And you've been good with his name out of the gate.
I hope so.
Akwesi Antwi. He has been good. 3 special teams tackles coming in, and has been a guy that the Calgary Stampeders are looking for to replace Brandon Browner as the gunner. One of the first guys down on cover teams.
First Mount Allison Mountie to be drafted in a few years, and he's represented his school well. A 4th-round pick, number 26 overall. They had Junior Turner at number 9, who's in the lineup. Anthony Parker, who was their first pick, and Brad Sinopoli. And John Hufnagel said, we got 4 of our top 12 rated guys in the draft, and all 4 on the roster.
Well, he was the gunner. He was down there in a hurry. Take a look at how he was injured getting in on the tackle on Javon Johnson. He got hit as he spun around there by Perry Floyd.
So Pat Clayton continues to work on him. 9:03 left. The Bombers, who surrendered 16 points against Hamilton and then 16 against Toronto, trying to hold the Stamps under 20 and make it 3 weeks in a row in that department and in the win column. But a lot of work to be done. And Paul LaPolice knows they need some first downs here, working against the wind and trying to keep the ball away from Henry Burris and the Stamps.
And my first choice, if I'm Paul LaPolice in that scenario, is number 32, wearing the blue jerseys. Certainly on first down. A lot of different ways you can use them too, because Fred Reed is able to catch the ball well out of the backfield. And just 6 catches coming into this game tonight.
You got me thinking too, have they thrown the football to Reed tonight? No, they haven't, confirms statistician John Russell. Yards have come grudgingly. They'll try him again. There's a good run up across the 31-yard line. About 7 for Fred on that. He's been consistent this year. Paul LaPolice was saying what we haven't been able to do is burst Fred for the big gain. His longest so far this year is 13.
No, but he has, coming into this game, was leading the league after 2 weeks in first downs along the ground. He's the guy that's moving those chains.
Second and a couple. It will be Reed, and it will be a first down. And that'll take a little more time off the clock.
He's a little slow to get up after this one. Bunch formation with the receivers. Are going to use some motion to try and freeze linebackers to give Fred Reed a little bit of a opening. There's TJ Harris coming out on a kick-out block from the opposite side. He makes a good move on Devon Claybrooks right at the hole.
And they're going to give Fred Reed a breather. Carl Volney, a rookie out of Central Michigan, a Montreal-born player, has come in. They've been impressed with Volney right from day one of camp. A guy who they say just doesn't make any mistakes.
Out of Central Michigan, and was voted by his team at Central Michigan as a senior as the Offensive Player of the Year.
So it's a first down. And the clock has wound down under 8 minutes. And we've had a timekeeping issue. And so Kim Murphy's going to come to the sidelines and find out what the problem is. And now the clock counting down to 7:12. So did they not start the clock on the last play? They're going to check with the people upstairs. And now the clock reads 7:24, at least on the scoreboard here. And Paul LaPolice says, go ahead, wind her down.
Well, they went from 7:12 back to 7:24.
Also have an issue with the score. They now have 20 up for the Bombers. And you can hear the fans booing. They had no points for Calgary and have put 13 back up. I think we got her organized. 14, there it is, 14, 2014. And back to work we go, 1st and 10. fake to Volney. And Elliott downfield. And it's broken up. Brandon Smith. And that means the intended target was Terrence Edwards.
I don't vote for players of the week, but man, if I had one, I'd sure be considering Brandon Smith right now. I just think he has really played a great game. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers have tried to get to Terrence Edwards. He has won, but really just one. I know he also drew a flag earlier, but that has been a great battle to watch. And Brandon Smith, I think, is having a great game.
Talk about the Bombers proving their defense is for real. The secondary appears to be for Calgary after a lot of questions. There's a pass, and it's caught, flag down. That's a slant to Corey Watson. And was the call interference against Calgary? It was, and he made the catch nonetheless.
And out of Corey Watson's body of work tonight, that was his toughest catch.
Forward pass interference, Calgary number 29. The penalty is declined. First down, Winnipeg.
Working on Jeff Tisdale, the corner, and Corey Watson gets Tisdale, who's playing hard inside position, to get outside. He grabs his jersey right there. That grab there is the penalty flag, but this is a real tough catch, and he makes it anyway.
Now 6 for 96 in pursuit of his first ever 100-yard game. First down. Fred Reed's back in. Reed to midfield. Charleston Hughes drags him down there, but it's 7 more for Fast Fred.
Charleston Hughes saves the touchdown, or the possibility of a foot race to the end zone, because when Fred Reed made that cut right there on a dime, if not for backside pursuit from Charleston Hughes, he is still running. If you're a young defensive lineman watching this game, doesn't matter if the play goes away from you, you could still be a difference maker. Charleston Hughes saves a big gain there.
Been some clutch yards for Reed on this drive. They pitch it out. He's got it. First down. And cut back. Keon Raymond saves a touchdown. He was the only Calgary defender out there.
And T.J. Harris from the receiving corps. He's going to work on Charleston Hughes, who made the play on first down to stop a big gainer, but gets him here. There's Charleston Hughes here. Now he's got contained and wants this to happen, but watch the block by 14, T.J. Harris, as he just gets enough of Hughes so that Fred Reed can get the corner.
12 more for Reed, another first down. Fake to Volney. Elliott looking deep, looking for Edwards. Incomplete. Brandon Smith recovered at the last second.
And it's just been a great battle. I mean, you know, look at this. An out and up from Terrence Edwards. Brandon Smith stays with him and reads his eyes. So he knows as the eyes of Terrence Edwards gets big, because the ball's about to arrive, that's when Brandon Smith turns and is there to knock it down once again.
2nd and 10. It would be a 49-yard attempt into the wind from this spot. They need more yards. And Harris got the catch. Oh, hit. Ball loose. Picked up. And it's Keon Raymond looking for another touchdown. And he stumbled right into Joey Elliott. And Elliott's hurt. Elliott saves a touchdown, but another Bomber quarterback's gone down.
Oh, boy. The hit, first of all, that pops it out. T.J. Harris comes across the formation. Now he's going to get it out in the flat. And watch the hit here by Morley. That's tackling the football. And now here comes Keon Raymond. Joey Elliott saves the touchdown, but injures his knee in the process.
So Elliott on the limp, and he wants to walk it off under his own power. Oh, that's a vicious hit by Morley as T.J. Harris left exposed. Vicious but clean.
Yes, it was.
Elliott says he's okay. Another big play by Raymond. He's been the most dangerous man on offense for Calgary. with a touchdown in the game, and now setting up the Stamps at the 31. Complete for Zanny. First down at the 20. What a turnaround that was. The Bombers close to field goal range to make it a 9-point lead. And that hit changes everything.
It really does. And Demetrius Royer got into a bumpy start to this game, but he settled in nicely. And we talked about how hard a hitting game it's been. That's a huge play for Calgary. Now can Henry Burris capitalize?
On the 19, Burris over the middle. Caught. Was he down by contact? They're ruling yes at the 6. A catch for Rambo just outside the 5-yard line.
Talk about struggles. It's been a bit of a struggle in this second half between Kenyon Rambo and Henry Burris, but it all goes away if they can finish this drive. Timing off in the play action, but Rambo goes down and gets this one.
Working against Dion Beasley. Fans will try and do their part.
They're turning it up a notch, the noise level here. Henry Burris has to call his timeout.
They weren't going to get the playoff.
Timeout, Calgary.
Not fully lined up with 2 seconds on the clock, and so Burris takes the timeout.
And he had to take that just before the 3-minute warning. And you could chalk that one up to a great crowd. 2011. How about these Bomber fans? Calling it Swaggerville. And timeout caused by the fans. And
they've got a CEO in Swaggerville, and they've got at least 28,000 residents here making noise. First and goal. Burris rolls, throws, touchdown. Kenyon Rambo from Henry Burris. They make the connection, and it's the first offensive touchdown of the night for the Stamps.
Well, they stick with it. Henry Burris sticks with it. And timing and patience is the key to this touchdown by both Kenyon Rambo and Henry Burris. Half roll from Henry Burris. That means he just goes to the tackle and then turns and fires, and it's a throw behind deliberately to the back hip of Kenyon Rambo.
Extra point puts Calgary ahead with 2:59 left.
Kenyon Rambo bounces himself inside like this to buy some room outside. He runs the fade, but the ball put on his back hip. And it's a deliberate throw behind, almost impossible to defend by Brandon Stewart.
First touchdown of the year for Kenyon Rambo. It's a 1-point Stampeder lead, and that kickoff is going to go out. So for the second time tonight, Paradis with an illegal kickoff. And Winnipeg will start at their 45.
Illegal kickoff. Calgary number 30. The first time Winnipeg at the 45-yard line.
Let me show you that again by Kenyon Rambo, he uses motion before the snap to come in here a little bit to buy him some room on the outside on this fade route. Watch how he'll shuffle himself inside to the numbers. Now he's got the outside. Brandon Stewart has got to seal the easier throw inside. The deliberate throw behind is right on the money from Henry Burris.
First offensive touchdown of the night for Calgary. Joey Elliott is still in at quarterback and slinging it downfield. Incomplete over the head of T.J. Harris. And you had an indication that Joey Elliott was coming back into the game when getting attention here. Got to his feet, and then I don't want any help. Nope, just leave me alone. I'm okay.
Yeah, and he walked that off for the entire time Henry Burris was on the field. And now he's in a tough situation, second and long.
6 for 12 on the night.
We stand, kid. We stand, kid.
Pass intended for Watson is incomplete. That's a 2-and-out with still enough time on the clock to not think about a third down gamble.
No, not here. There's lots of time left, so Paul LaPolice will try and get the field position he's been getting all night from Mike Renaud, who's been very good tonight punting the football for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers even into the wind, and put this one on his defense to get a stop. And a field goal for Calgary can make it a 4-point game.
Another good boot for Zanny. 24-yard line. Pierre-Luc Labbé will chase him out. 21-20. That's a 41-yard punt into a pretty good breeze. 14 of Calgary's 21 points off turnovers. The fumble on the last play by T.J. Harris, and earlier the interception return for a touchdown by Keon Raymond.
Tough slugging for Henry Burris, but he is getting it done here in the fourth quarter, and I'm sure that conversation between he and Dave Dickinson were all about field goal range, that he doesn't have to force it or press things. Got the 1-point lead. The field goal range makes Winnipeg have to score a major to win.
Calgary won both games last year. Tight. Joffrey Reynolds now trying to grind it out. Up to the 34, has 5.
And every football game, as we've said many times, comes down to 1 or 2 plays often, and this is one of them. Defensive coordinator Tim Burke. Now, what does he have? He's been getting solid pressure from just 4 down linemen. His front 4 led by Doug Brown and Dorian Smith in the middle. Will he send pressure and put the pressure then on his secondary to cover? Jonathan Hefney's been dynamite in the secondary.
It is Reynolds straight ahead, lunging to the 39 and close. Looks like he's got it.
And that's money from your tailback if he's got first down yardage there. To go twice when you're trying to kill the clock and finish off a game to your running back and be able to get the first down.
What was Milt's stat? About 10 carries or more?
12-0. If he gets 10 carries or more last year, less than 10 carries, 1 and 5, and he gets a key first down with Tim O'Neill leading the way, the center for the Calgary Stampeders. But you see him snap the football. Doug Brown works him to the outside. Boy, I'm not saying something. When you take big Doug Brown out of there, you've made a key block.
Reynolds has 6 carries on the night. The game plan might be to get him to 10 before this drive's done. Carry number 7 not going anywhere. And Doug Brown at the bottom of the pile.
We talked earlier about the matchups in the secondary and how when good football players get beat or they lose a battle, how the good ones come back and win the next battle. Well, good block by Tim O'Neill.
Winnipeg.
On that second down run that got Calgary a first down, and that time Doug Brown didn't like it, so he steps up and makes a big defensive play, and now Dave Dickinson takes some more time with his quarterback on the sideline.
Bombers have called a timeout, stop it with 1:52. Marcellus Bowman on the tackle in that last play, and it sets up 2nd and 10. And is Joffrey Reynolds still an option?
Well, it's interesting with what's happened on the Bomber sideline. At quarterback, you might just be conservative and running here. I wouldn't, but you might.
They think. Looks downfield in trouble. Releases and there's Willis in the flat, and Jonathan Hefty stops him short.
There's another guy that would get a vote for Defensive Player of the Week. I think Jonathan Hefty has put together a great game. He's got 3-4 knockdowns I've counted, and a key tackle there on Nick Lewis. Nick Lewis has made many a miss in the open field, either by running around them, over them, or through them.
And remember last year against Winnipeg, it was the high hurdle over Brady Brown. The yard leader last year, but Hefty a sure tackle forcing Burke Dales onto the field. And Burke Dales his job's to keep this ball in play, isn't it? He's got a stiff wind, and he could kick it into the end zone, but the Stamps don't want the single point. Devon Johnson at his 20th play. And has a return, and then gets caught from behind at the 32-yard line. Anthony Parker, the high draft choice, with a special teams tackle. So Joey Elliott in relief of Buck Pierce here in the second half. Looked like he was driving for some insurance points when the ball was fumbled away by T.J. Harris, and now he's got to come from behind to win it with 75 seconds on the clock.
4 first downs away from field goal range.
And Clarence Denmark a catch across the 35. Calgary won the toss and deferred. Ended up with the win in the fourth quarter. How big will that be when this night's over? Second and 6, no huddle. To the sidelines, Hargraves. And he's got to get out, did he? No.
I don't think he did, and that's just a young mistake because he makes a solid catch. They're going to give him a little room. The Calgary Stampeders don't want to give up one big play, but that's just a mistake by Aaron Hargraves. Has to get out of bounds there. Maybe save a second or two.
Well, they had it at 103. It is running now. So that cost them a dozen seconds by not getting out. And now Elliott, quarterback draw. And he's down at the 50-yard line. That's about 4 with 45 seconds remaining. And they've got a hustle.
And you're 3-down football now.
You think that they have to get under 45 yards away for Pilardi. Here's a pass for Hargraves. He's got it. Big catch that time by the Simon Fraser product. Clutch with 37 on the clock.
Oh, is it ever? And it's the type of catch that can kickstart your career in a big way. Aaron Hargraves been around for 4 years. That's a biggie.
Corey Watson and Aaron Hargraves have been big tonight for the Winnipeg offense. Still need more. And that pass is batted down by Charleston Hughes. That stops the clock. 29 seconds to go.
Real challenging kick here for Justin Pilardi at 46 yards into a swirling wind here in Winnipeg. A little surprised that Winnipeg didn't try to run the ball to Fred Reed and get it into the middle and maybe pick up more yards that way, positive yards.
Well, you think they'd need 5 or 6 more at least. Second and 10. Look in. Caught. Short yardage by Denmark. And they're going to mark it outside the 36-37, so it's going to be a 44-yarder. Joey Elliott hobbles to the sidelines. Pretty gritty effort by a kid that doesn't have a lot of experience, but has given them at least a chance. Look, and Pilardi.
His long this year is 40. But he needs to hit it last year. He needs to hit it hard, Chris.
Well, this is like a 50-yarder. The distance, but he misses, and it's going to be brought out. Larry Taylor brings it out. Flag down. And Taylor runs out of bounds with 5 seconds left. So Pilardi misses to the left. And the Stampeders look like they're going to take this one away with 5 seconds on the clock. Let's see what the flags are all about.
On the return, illegal block, number 39, Calgary. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
Just time for a knee.
Yeah, and you know what I do like about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers there and what they did at the end of that thing? They tried to kick a winning field goal rather than kick it to the corner from the field goal thing to get a single and tie it, kick the winning field goal. It was a challenging one into that wind at 46, but I thought Justin Pilardi might try to really step into it, that if he missed, they might get the single to tie it. But
well, the Stamps were in the trail position much of the night, but they come up with a big fourth quarter touchdown from Burris to Rambo. John Hufnagel's teams won 2 straight, and they hand the Blue Bombers their first defeat of the year. A couple of 2-1 teams now put on quite a show here at Canadians. 21-20 is the final score as Henry Burris and the Stamps celebrate a win. That's the story from Canadians. Onright and O'Toole are next with SportsCenter. So long, everybody.